Hello, and welcome to episode 91 of Rivers Arcade Review. My name is Ed. This channel is dedicated to the coin-operated video games of yesteryear. Today I'll be reviewing a game from my past, Wizard of War. Wizard of War was released in 1980 by Midway. My first time playing this game was at the Wizard of Games arcade inside of Fort City Mall in Chicago, Illinois. Wizard of War is a maze-themed game in which you control your warrior with a 4-way joystick and a fire button. The joystick is wired with dual contacts for each direction. Tapping the joystick in any direction will cause your warrior to change directions without moving, while pressing the joystick fully in one direction will cause the warrior to move in that direction. This game can be played with either 1 or 2 players. During a 2-player game, both players will play at the same time. Player 1 will control the yellow warrior and player 2 will control the blue warrior. Something new introduced with this game was during a 1-player game, the computer will control the player 2 warrior. You need to be careful because it is possible to shoot each other's warriors, which will cost them a life. The game begins with player 1's warrior entering the playfield at the bottom right and player 2's warrior entering from the bottom left of the screen. Your warrior will remain safely in the box for up to 10 seconds or until you move it out yourself. Once 10 seconds have elapsed, you will automatically be removed from the box. Once you move your warrior out of the box, you will be vulnerable to enemy attacks. In the bottom center of the screen, there will be a radar display. This display will show where the enemies are on the playfield. Each enemy will be represented by a colored dot. The radar will not display the walls of the playfield, so you need to estimate where the enemies are based on where the dots are displayed. The first enemy you will face will be the Boer War. The Boer War enemies are blue in color and will be represented by a blue dot on the radar. These enemies will move slowly and roam throughout the playfield. You need to avoid contacting the front of these enemies because contacting the front will cost you a life. It is possible to bump these enemies from the back, top, or bottom safely, although you need to be careful contacting them because they can reverse direction and cost you a life. The first level will begin with 6 Boer Wars roaming the playfield. Once all of these enemies are destroyed, a new enemy will appear, the Boer War. The Boer War is a yellow enemy that will be represented by a yellow dot on the radar. This enemy will also roam the playfield, although these enemies can cloak themselves and make themselves invisible. If this enemy is invisible, you can only track them via the radar. Once the Boer War is destroyed, another new enemy will appear, the Thor War. This enemy is red and will be represented by a red dot on the radar. These enemies can also use cloaking to render themselves invisible and then can only be tracked via the red dots on the radar. Shooting the Boer War will end the level. The second level will begin the same way as the first, although at a harder difficulty. One difference is there will always be at least 2 enemies roaming the maze unless you are down to the final one. This means that when you get down to 1 blue enemy, the yellow one will appear. This level will also have 2 yellow enemies and 1 red enemy. Once all the regular enemies are destroyed, a new enemy will appear. This enemy is the Warlock, which is a blue and yellow moth-shaped enemy, which is represented by a red and yellow dot on the radar. The Warlock is a very fast enemy that will quickly roam the playfield. Shooting this enemy will end the level and award you double scoring on the next level. If you don't shoot this enemy in a timely fashion, it will escape and the level will end and you won't receive the bonus. The Warlock will appear at the end of all levels beginning with level 2. As the game progresses, the enemies will travel faster and faster, as well as you will have to face more and more yellow and red enemies. Also, as the levels progress, the minimum numbers of enemies on the screen will also increase. The minimum of enemies will equal the dungeon number until you reach level 6, then the minimum will remain at 6 enemies until you have destroyed all but the last few. Occasionally after you destroy the Warlock, the Wizard of War will appear on the playfield. The Wizard of War is a blue-caped enemy that not only can cloak but can transport around the maze. The Wizard of War will not show up on the radar, so he can only be tracked when he is visible. Destroying the Wizard of War will turn all the maze walls white and will also award a double score on the next round. The Wizard of War can escape the maze just like the Warlock if you don't destroy him in a timely fashion. Once you reach level 13, and every 6 levels thereafter, you will face the pit levels. The pit levels will have no walls, so the enemies will be able to roam freely. Since the enemies can move around, it is hard to hit them, and shooting the other player is a possibility, so you need to aim carefully. Other than the pit levels, you will face a new maze layout each level, although I wasn't able to play them all, so they may repeat. This game offered speech during a tracked endgame play, which was new for the time. Another new item this game offered was a buy extra lives option. You will receive 3 lives for 1 credit and 7 lives for 2 credits. If you wish to play a 2-player game with 7 lives, you need to insert 4 credits. Management setting had an option for 2 lives for 1 credit and 5 lives for 2 credits. Unlike most games at the time, you earned free lives by reaching certain levels as opposed to reaching a target score. You'll earn an extra life after completing either the 3rd or 4th level depending on management settings, and you will also earn an extra life just before you play the first pit level. Scoring for the game is as follows. You'll earn 100 points for each Burr War, 200 points for each Gur War, 500 points for each Thor War, 1,000 points and a double score for the next level for the Warlock, and 2,500 points for destroying the Wizard of War. You will earn 1,000 points for shooting the other or computer player. I enjoyed playing this game and recommend playing it, especially if you can find it in an arcade setting, since emulation doesn't translate the game perfectly because of the dual sensors in the joysticks. I like this game more than Missile Command, but not as much as Super Glob, so Wizard of War fires its way into the 57th position overall. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any games you'd like to suggest, please leave a message below or on my homepage. Please remember to hit like, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned to new videos every Wednesday and Sunday.